Welcome back to the Rock Your Retirement Show. I'm your host, Kathy Klein, and I'm so glad that you chose to listen today. You know, we've been producing this podcast for you since 2016. This show addresses topics that most shows don't. We talk about retirement lifestyle. When we started this show, there literally weren't any other shows in this genre. I know because I searched for them, because I wanted to listen, but they weren't there. Then other shows started with similar topics. I was happy to see that and reached out to many of the hosts to see if I could help. You know, a rising tide lifts all ships. I was hoping that eventually retirement lifestyle would be its own topic. Sadly, many of the shows I tried to help have gone off the air. There are new shows now, ones I listen to that have huge audiences, but they're not targeted at us. You know, the baby boomers with a few Gen Xers mixed in. A lot of these shows are targeted at the FIRE community. FIRE stands for Financially Independent Retire Early. Mostly 20s, 30s, and 40-year-olds. We typically aren't learning about how to save and invest. And when I say we, I'm talking about us, the listeners, the members of the Rock Your Retirement community. I'm hoping that if you listen to this show, you've got that part all figured out. What we are really trying to do is figure out how we're going to live, how our lives will change as we get older, regardless of whether we choose to work, play, volunteer, or whatever. The Rock Your Retirement Show has covered a lot of topics. We've talked about what to do when your mom needs assisted living, whether you should retire overseas, and yes, we've even talked about dating and sex. A lot of us have stress because the love of our lives have different needs and wants than we have. Although we may have been together for years and years, retiring can put a lot of stress on a marriage. That's because we've been together, but also alone. And we've worked that out. It can be tough when we retire because now we have all the time in the world, but our loved one doesn't necessarily want to do the same thing that we want to do with all that time. That's what's facing our listener today, Shirley. She wants to work a seasonal job. Well, why don't I just let you listen for yourself?
Hi, my name is Shirley, and I'm calling because I'm finding that it may be easy for one of the retirement persons of the couple to find something that they like and more difficult for the spouse. And I wondered how other retirement couples have managed to both find a very meaningful seasonal work effort together when one opportunity seems to fit great for one of the spouses and the other one doesn't have such a great feeling about it, and wondered if that's been common when somebody's trying this out for the first time. My name is Shirley, and by the way, I think your Rock Your Retirement site and podcast is wonderful. So thank you. Bye.
Before I give Shirley my opinion, I brought two experts to weigh in. First, let's hear what Janelle Anderson has to say. She's been a frequent guest on the show.
Hi, I am Janelle Anderson from Emerging Life Coaching and my podcast, Women Emerging Fearlessly. And I've been a guest on the Rock Your Retirement podcast, and I want to answer Shirley's question. So thanks, Shirley, for asking your question. You were asking, what do you do if a couple wants to do a business together, do something together in retirement, something they're passionate about, but one person doesn't have a passion for it or isn't quite as interested as the other? What do you do? So I would suggest that possibly look at your strengths. One person might have a strength that they can bring to the business or the idea, and the other person could bring a different perspective or strength to it. For example, one person might be doing it's hard to say. It's actually hard to say since I don't know the particulars of what you want to do, so I'm just kind of guessing. But let's say one person has the idea to make jewelry and create this business, and the other person doesn't really want to make jewelry, but maybe they have an expertise in marketing or, getting the word out about it, or maybe they're really good at doing the bookkeeping. So each of you might have a strength you could bring to it. My husband and I have done that before, where he was strong in one thing and I was strong in something else. And the other idea I thought of was perhaps each doing your own thing but supporting each other. That's what my husband and I are doing currently. He has his own business and I have my own business. It's not the same business, but we support one another in it because he's doing what he loves and I'm doing what I love. So those are two ideas. Hopefully that's been somewhat helpful. I really believe that if you're doing what you love and that you're passionate about it, then you'll be happy and fulfilled, and it doesn't have to be the exact same thing as your partner. So I hope that was helpful. Have a great day, and thanks again for asking.
Thank you, Janelle, for that thoughtful answer. Shirley, I think what Janelle was trying to say was to find the strength that your husband could bring to the opportunity that you're seeking. For example, let's say that you want to do seasonal work at a summer camp for kids. You want to be a waitress so that you can socialize with all the kids and the other workers. But perhaps your husband is an introvert and the idea of that just doesn't sit well with him. I think what Janelle was saying is maybe you can help him find something at the summer camp that he might like to do. For example, if he's really into computers, maybe he could help the kids with that. Or perhaps he has an eye for marketing. Maybe he could help the marketing team for the summer. In other words, the work he does doesn't have to be the same as what you are doing. Or maybe there's a different volunteer program that would make his heart sing. For example, perhaps he's always wanted to try out living in an RV. There are programs you can volunteer for that are helping the public parks. Some of these pay and some of these don't. So see what he's excited about and try to tailor the experience to him. Now, Joyce Richmond, another guest on the Rock Your Retirement show, has a different take.
Hi, it's Shirley. This is Joyce Richmond and Associates Limited, and I'm a career coach. I work with folks who are contemplating retirement or moving through the process thereof. And so I was interested in your question because you're seeking an opportunity, it sounds like, to join your spouse in a retirement endeavor. So whether that's part-time work or volunteering. And you ask, how do other couples do it if one of the two is interested in this particular opportunity and the other not so much? My hunch is that for most couples, there would be one person who would be, yeah, I'm really into it, and the other one not so much, because you're very different people. You probably you came together as a couple because you had very different interests. And so this is the time to really explore the differences rather than trying to force a commonality or similarity where it's just not going to be a good fit for both of you, which could make it or turn it into one that's not at all good for either one of you. So instead, and in your case, Shirley, be focusing on what is it that really interests you, and why are you interested in it? You probably have all kinds of stories from what could be from childhood, from growing up, from other kinds of experiences that tell you, this is the kind of stuff I'd like to do, or these are the kinds of people that I'd like to help, or this is the kind of difference I want to make in my community. So listen to yourself and listen to your own passion. Get in touch with people who have similar interests to yours. Let them know what you believe you can bring to the table. Ask them the degree to which they believe that that could be a contribution. In other words, follow green lights. There you go, Shirley. I hope that helps you. Take care.
Thanks, Joyce, for that well-thought-out answer. Now, I think what Joyce is saying is that you can spread your wings and do something different from your husband. You don't necessarily have to do this together. It doesn't mean that you don't love each other, but it just means that you each have your own interest and you're free to explore them. You both have ways to contribute, and they don't have to be the same. Now, before I give you my answer, today, NordVPN is sponsoring the show. NordVPN is a virtual private network. That means if you join the Peace Corps, you'll still be able to access the same websites that you can access at home, even if they're blocked by that country. And if you use public Wi-Fi, your data will be much, much safer. If you're curious about how to make your online shopping and data safer, go to rockyourretirement.com/VPN. That's Victor, Paul, Nancy. We'll get a tiny payment for everyone that signs up using this link, so share it with your friends and family. Okay, back to Shirley's question. Shirley, first of all, thank you for the call. It sounds like you've given that some thought. It can be difficult when one spouse wants to do something and the other one doesn't, especially when it comes to seasonal work. That's because seasonal work often involves travel. Shirley, one thing that I was wondering, why do you want to do the seasonal work? Is it mostly for adventure or is it for the money? If it's for the money, then my answer is a little bit different than if it's for adventure. I know that in my family, I'm ready to travel anywhere, anytime. I'd spend a year traveling if I could. I'd be one of these people who live on a cruise ship so they don't have to move to assisted living. I mean, sign me up. But my husband, Les, doesn't really like traveling that much. So I have 3 choices as far as I can see. Number 1, I can try to talk him into the trips I want to make. As long as I select trips that he wants to do and he's healthy enough, I can usually talk him into it. But let's look at a different scenario that doesn't involve travel. It involves exercise. Now, my husband, Les, will lift weights, but no matter how much I cajole him, he's not going to get involved in aerobics. It doesn't matter if it's in a class or at my own house. He doesn't like it. He's not going to do it. So on one hand, I can talk him into travel because on some level he enjoys it. But regarding the aerobics, I've never been able to get him to enjoy it. So he doesn't go. That's off the table. My next choice is to take trips without him. For example, I do aerobics without him. So I could take solo trips. I can take trips with the girls. I could take group tours, do that kind of thing, without him. On one hand, this would save on stress about the dogs. Even though we usually get house sitters through trusted house sitters, there's always a little stress leaving the dogs with someone else. Oh, and don't forget, if you're interested in trusted house sitters, either as a house sitter so you can travel nearly free, or as a pet owner so you can get a house sitter for free, use my link and you'll get a 25% discount. And I'll get 2 months free. Just go to rockyourretirement.com/THS, that's Tom, Harry, Sally, and sign up. Les and I have saved thousands of dollars on hotels and kennels by using this service. And I've made some pretty good friends with the house sitters too. My third choice is to stay home. Now, I don't really like this choice very much, and so far I've been able to avoid it. But at some point in the distant future, I'll likely need to make a choice between taking trips without him and staying home. That's because Les is so much older than me. At some point, he won't be able to travel, or he might be too sick to travel. And so this is a choice that I know that eventually I'll need to make. Surely, if you were wanting to do seasonal work for the money, then you might not want to do it alone. And I can certainly understand that you wouldn't want to be off to summer camp, working in the kitchen or in the dining room while your husband stays home and eats bonbons. I'm guessing that your desire to do seasonal work is more for the adventure than the money. So you might want to consider bringing him along, but you do the work on your own. That way you'll get the adventure and he won't have to work. That might be a good compromise between the two of you. Anyway, I hope that this helps you think about some options. And for the other listeners, if you're interested in having me or any of our previous guests help you with a retirement lifestyle question, give us a call and leave up to a 2-minute question. The phone number is 858-876-4146. 2548. It's also on the website, rockyourretirement.com. And listener, if you want to weigh in on Shirley's question, head on over to the show notes. Perhaps you have a better answer that me or my two experts have given. Just search for this episode number and then give us your advice to Shirley in the comments. I'm looking forward to seeing what advice you give. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Rock Your Retirement Show. Bye!